auto enthusiasts, and today we're looking at the 2014 Toyota Camry SE. We're going to do an in-depth review, check out the interior, and take it for a test drive. Stay tuned. The Camry is powered by a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine that produces 178 horsepower. It is front-wheel drive and has a 6-speed automatic transmission. The SE comes with added 17-inch aluminum wheels, fog lights, remote keyless entry, heated mirrors, and an upgraded seat trim. Making 25 miles to the gallon in the city and 35 on the highway, it is a fuel-efficient mid-size sedan. The Camry still, unfortunately, falls under the category of an average-looking vehicle. The 2014 has a more aggressive and sporty, revitalized look. Trunk size was good and offered an above-average sized opening. The carpeting and general design of the trunk was something out of a more expensive vehicle.
They're pretty decent back seats.
These are really nice seats. They have a really nice leather with some mesh material. Just, you know, this is a lot how sports cars work. The front seats are leather. They're just really nice. There's a lot of leg room, a lot of foot room, a lot of room for your hands. You know, the back, these seats hold you. The back is very comfortable. I'm really comfortable in this car. There's not a lot of, some cars have double moon roofs. This car doesn't. It just has a single sunroof. I like it. I can't see out of it. But overall, you know, this has an attractive feel. I have to say, getting to this, I feel a lot like I'm in a Ford. I'm not sure why. I just have that feeling of a Ford sedan. Like I'm sitting in the back of a 500 or something. Interior space in this car is pretty good. The side door is terrible. I'm just going to go out and say it. The side door is terrible. There is an extremely small cup holder here. I can't imagine even putting a water bottle in there, and not a lot of space here. But moving on to the glove compartment. This is pretty good. You know, you're opening over to the side. This opens up a very long space. It's not very deep, but it's very long. So in front of the dash, you can open this up, this slot here. There's a massive amount of room back there. That's where your USB and auxiliary are. There's a lot of room back there. We're going to close that. Cup holders are pretty big. They're decently sized. I'm happy with these. This is an odd design right here. I'm going to go off the bat, say it again. It's another odd thing about this car. Right after that, you have this opening here. Apologize for this being dirty. Again, this car just came into the dealership. You got this opening here. Now going to the center armrest. This is a pretty comfortable center armrest. It's really standard. It's nothing special. But it opens up to a massive amount of space. There isn't an auxiliary USB here or any type of charger. You know, that's up front. Some cars have it also here. There's just a container for storage. But this is a massive amount of space. Definitely one of the largest amount of spaces for a sedan in its size. The steering wheel is pretty good. It's got a leather wrap that's pretty decent for the price of the car. There's a lot of buttons over here. I'm not super crazy about them. This is pretty simple. I like it. Not crazy about the cruise control that we have here. I prefer that as a button on the wheel. I like the chrome Toyota symbol. It's really nice. Overall, it's got some good holds. It's got the top. It does have paddle shifters. They're nothing crazy. They're just plastic paddle shifters. They're pretty easy to use, but definitely, they give off a little bit of a cheap vibe. The gauges in this car are pretty good. I have to say, again, they look a lot like a Ford. I'm not really sure why, but they're pretty good. They're attractive. They're not necessarily sporty, but they're different enough that I could enjoy these on a daily basis. As for the center console, it's pretty simple. You got the time up top, you got your two vents, you got a pretty decently sized screen. It's pretty decent. It's very simple. I like this a lot. The quality of the buttons are pretty good. It's easy to figure out what you want to do and how to do it. Temperature controls, I've been playing around with a little bit. It really cools, heats the car. They're very simple, and there's nothing down here. I really like this design. It's really simple. They got to the point. It's easy to use. This is probably one of my favorite designs I've seen in cars yet. We're just going to take a look at the shifter knob real quick. It's a pretty simple shifter knob. I like that it's differentiated. It's easy to use. There's a lot of different differentials here. I find it a little bit silly, but yeah. Okay, so overall comfort. I'm pretty comfortable in this car. Good arm support. Seats are pretty comfortable. They hug me pretty well. They're not sport seats. They're pretty average for sedan, but they do the job, you know. And it's not like a flat seat that you experience with some sedans. As for visibility, it's pretty good. I have a pretty good view around the car. The side view mirrors are a little bit small. They don't give me the full picture, but they're just big enough. I'm just adjusting the right one. They're just big enough to give me enough of the viewing around the car. As for the opening on the front, it's pretty good. There's not a lot of hood. I can see pretty much like right down it. Definitely something that I like. I drove a Civic for a long time, and it's a quality in cars that, you know, that it is underrated. I hate having a massive hood and not being able to see over it. As for turning around, again, there's this big chunk of car that in the past couple cars that I've reviewed, that they've had this huge chunk of car that I really have to lean forward to look around if I want to merge into traffic or get into a rotary. Okay, so we're gonna put this car in drive, and I had to move the shifter knob down this silly amount of differentials, and that was crazy. But we're gonna put it in drive, and we're gonna check out the idle speed. The idle speed's pretty good. You know, I'm moving around the dealer. I don't have to touch the gas at all. I'm actually hovering around the brake, so I'd say idle speed is pretty good. I'm actually pretty impressed. It's faster than I thought. You know, we just hit like a couple potholes in the dealership, and feeling the car, you know, I'm a little hesitant. You know, I want to say that the car handled them very well. You know, they weren't really that much of a pothole, and you know, it already seems like it might be tight. All right, so we're coming up to a straightaway here. We are in sport mode. We're gonna give it a bit of gas and see what it can do. We're pulling out and we're flooring it, and you know, it has some pickup. It's what you would expect from a Toyota Camry. Nothing special. You know, it shifted at like 4,500 RPM. And yeah, I mean, it didn't really pull me out of my seat. It definitely accelerated. We got to like 45, which isn't bad. I have to say it was a little anticlimactic. The engine started to roar. I thought like something was gonna kick in, and then I didn't really get any further pull. The engine noise is very much coming from the engine, but you know, it's not exactly a great noise. It's not a deep tone. It's kind of a high pitch, like I'm working as hard as I can, but I can't give you that power kind of sound. As for feel of the road, you know, I'm actually impressed. I said earlier, you know, that it was kind of tight. It definitely is tight, but it's almost a sports tuned suspension. I very much feel like I could be in a Scion FRS. I know that a lot of you are going to say that's a stretch, but the car has a similar bounce to it as a Scion FRS. We're coming up here to a rotary, and I'm just, you know, I'm feeling it. I'm pushing a little gas on a turn, and again, it has really good balance. Again, you know, like I said, it does feel like a Scion FRS. As silly as that sounds, that is like the car easy for me to compare it to. Another comment for the feel of the road, whenever I hit a pothole or a bump, I do feel like I'm being lifted. There's like an opposite reaction. I do feel like I'm being lifted off my seat, which is not exactly a feeling that I would like to feel every time. I have to say that is a downside right off the bat. Another thing is when I brake, I very much feel like I'm going to go forward. There's not a lot holding me back. I do have the seat angled a little bit. I was hoping that it would hold me back, but it doesn't. As for braking, the braking's pretty good. It's very responsive. It's not super touchy, but it's very responsive, and it definitely gets the job done in the time you want it done. So the turn signal shifter knob, you know, it's a big deal. Like, the little things are a big deal. I have to impress on new buyers. Little things make the car. Shifter knob's long. I really like it. The sound is good. The gauges I thought would be, you know, I was looking at them, talking about them earlier. I wasn't super impressed. I have to say, driving, they're really bland. I'm definitely not getting any enjoyment out of them. Most cars give me some type of enjoyment when I'm looking at the gauges. I definitely don't get that out of this. As for being able to spend long periods of time in this car, not super impressed with the overall comfort. I feel like if I were to spend 3 or 4 hours driving in here, I definitely have to take some breaks. I don't think my back, butt, legs could do it. I don't have a lot of leg support in this seat. It's just not a very long seat. And, you know, the car again has that kind of like uplift whenever you hit a bump, and it's a little uncomfortable after a while. The kind of like how I feel this car sitting in it, I have to say, it doesn't lean towards one sex, age, any of that. I can be anyone driving this car. It doesn't have like a fit or a stereotype. But I have to say, with that, I don't feel anything special about being in this car. A lot of cars make me feel like, oh, I'm in a sports car. Oh, I'm in a nice luxury car. Oh, I'm in an attractive car. This car, I'm just kind of, I'm in a car. I'm in a very average daily driver. I have to say, it's not a bad thing to be in a car that looks average. I'm coming around a tight turn here real quick. We're gonna give it a little gas. Yeah, it's a pretty balanced car. The seats do hold me in here. That was a pretty impressive turn, and I'm up to speed pretty quickly. It's pretty quiet. But again, I feel like an average driver. I just feel like your average Joe getting into his car, driving to work. So I have to say, if you don't want to be recognized on the road, this is a car that very much can blend you into traffic, and you can just be like any other person driving on the road. My overall thoughts for this car. I'm a little disappointed in how I feel. I don't feel that I can spend long periods of time in this car, but other than that, as a daily driver, I think it's a really nice car. The steering is light. It very much has some qualities to it that could be from like a luxury car. Sorry, I was pulling into the dealership. Camera bounced a little bit. It definitely has a few qualities that could be pulled from some type of German luxury car. And then it has some qualities that could be pulled from a cheap Asian car, It's very much a mixture of pleasures. You definitely get certain things out of this car that you don't get out of others, and vice versa. I think for your daily buyer and consumer, you're either gonna like it or love it. There are parts of this car that are awesome, and there are parts that stink. I have to say, overall, I'd say I like it. I'm definitely somebody that likes to be noticed in a car, which I very much would not be noticed in this car. But, on the off day that, let's say I want to just drive and I don't want people looking at me in my Genesis Coupe, because I have a car that makes a lot of noise and I get a lot of viewers. And, this is not a bad car if I want to go out in the winter and just have a nice drive and not have everyone watching me.